Hi everyone, Nick here. Today we're looking at another F1 2020 League race. This time it's race 3 of season 3 of the Serious Racing League. And as you can probably guess from what you can see on screen, we're in Bahrain, which historically is neither one of my favourite tracks nor one of my most successful tracks, which isn't a great combination to be going into a race with, especially when you're, as I am, driving the Williams on Real Performance. So already on a back foot, and I've been given a crappy old rubbish car. Not ideal. Another thing that didn't really help is I didn't have enough time to do as much practice as I would liked here, which again, it just put me on the back foot. So when I was going into the practice sessions, one of which you can see on the screen now, I just didn't really feel like I had, especially the race practice. I'd done some time trial, that's one thing, but around Bahrain, tyre wear is a big thing. So not having done any practice race or anything like that, no, just not what we needed whatsoever. And I hadn't really done much of a qualifying practice either, so that meant I had very little confidence going into qualifying itself. So, first lap in qualifying wasn't really bad per se. I didn't really do anything too wrong, just wasn't a very good lap. Didn't really hook anything up massively, and we did a 1:28.3, which at that point was second last and was well over a second off the pace that other people were setting. Not good enough at all, unfortunately. So on our second run we were up. At one point we were about 2/10 up, but we lost a little bit of time. I think we wanted to regain it so much that I tried a little bit too hard. As you can hear, I'm not massively impressed with it, but I lost time coming out of the final corner. Just too throttle happy, and we aborted it. So we're still sat on our 1:28.3 and about as unimpressed by ourselves as we possibly could be. So let's see our final flying lap of the qualifying session. Blasting down the start-finish straight as fast as a Williams will blast down a straight anyway, and brake just before 100 metres on the left-hand side. You do want to brake a little bit earlier just so you can get turned in and then straightened up, so that when you take 2 and 3 you can take them as straight as possible and get on the throttle as much as possible. You can use all of the runoff on the left hand side, brake around 100 metres, sweep in, and then try and get a nice straight exit and then go. And through here I still haven't really worked out exactly which gear, whether it's 5th or 6th, but that one I went with 6th, seemed okay. Brake from 7th gear down for the tricky, much trickier than it looked hairpin, down to 2nd gear. This is one of the hardest corners on the entire game, and I've just about managed to do it pretty well there. Haven't really touched a curb on the inside, but I've got the car straightened up. We're almost half a second up on our previous best, which given we're 17th, we need. So throw it in here, try and get on the throttle as early as possible without going too wide. Avoid the curb of death on the right hand side, but get as close to it as possible. And this corner is deceptive. You want to take it as late as possible so you can get all the throttle down here, down this second last straight. I've done an okay job, I had a couple of goes at turning in. Brake nice and late for there, do not touch the curb on the inside, don't get too greedy on the accelerator, and we are now over half a second faster. We cross the line, do a 1:27.819. I was much happier with that, even though it was only good enough for 14th on the grid. And while I was a lot happier that we were only just over a second off of pole in a Williams, I wasn't massively keen on the fact I was basically half a second down on my teammate in the exact same car. Not really ideal, is it? But anyway, 14th meant we started on mediums. We're going to do a 1 stop, try and take it nice and carefully into turn 1, because it's notorious for there being a bit of a shambles here. And shambles is what we're going to get as Port inexplicably sends it completely up the inside and murders, well, just at least a couple of people there. We're very cautious. We get a bit pinched on the apex, and as a result we lose a couple of places, and we're now down in 17th. We're coming down to turn 4 again. You want to be really careful here, especially so because the safety car has been deployed, which means we're going to stay in 17th. Now, of course, at this point it's too early to do anything with the safety car in terms of strategy. A couple of people did pit, though, and by a couple I mean several people, and we then were able to climb up to 10th place on the grid. That would be a combination of damage for other people and time penalties, but we restarted in 10th place and tried to be nice and careful, but probably a little bit too careful. As you can see, that Hags on our outside, well, you can't really see, you can just see his front wing there, gets a run at us out of the final corner, and we're going to try and hang it out round the outside. So we brake nice and late, give him loads of room on the apex, and then we've got the inside line for turn 2, and we can use some rich fuel and ERS to make sure that he can't get past us going into turn 4. So lap 5 and we're in 10th. Lap 7 and we managed to gain a place because Tony, our teammate, has had to pit. He of course started in the top 10, so he had soft tyres and wasn't able to go that long into the race. So we're up to 9th, but there was no time to get even remotely comfortable in that, as Beckford is on our left hand side in his AlphaTauri. We don't really fight it very much whatsoever because he's got the faster car. We can't really do anything about it. The next few laps were basically just defined by gaining positions when people pitted, and this is why the one stop here is really good, because the people who started on soft tyres at the beginning of a race couldn't really go very far into the race. And you can do a one stop from softs, but it's softs and then hards for a long time. It's not particularly fun. So as you can see, we are flying through the field, but in all honesty it was very boring. You can see we had nowhere near enough pace to catch any of the cars in front. We're 5 seconds off of Sonny up in 4th place, and cars behind us, well, we had people behind us who just either were in bad cars and unable to catch us up, or had pitted, so were too busy overtaking the other cars. And it meant that we didn't really lose any places at this point, but kind of lost interest in just anything to do with this race whatsoever. It got very, very boring. And I suppose that's one of the downsides to the one stop. It can get a bit lonely and a bit boring when not really doing much. Anyway, we were up to 4th by the time we pitted at the end of lap 14. So it's now our customary look at how bad is the pit stop going to be for us. So we haven't even got to our pit garage. Of course, in the Williams, our pit garage is way down the end. And by the time we actually pit, we're already down to 14th place. Nice quick pit stop, 2.5 seconds, no penalties, no front wings or anything like that. And we go down to 15th. We're about to go down to 16th. And as we exit the pit lane, you can see the same guys, aka Maverick, in front of us. And we have lost 12 places in that one pit stop, and we are now going to be on hard tyres to the end of the race. Now, of course, because we're doing a one stop, those people who are doing 2 stops have to, stop a second time. So there's 2 places that we gained, but one of those was to Stefano in his Renault, and we're now going to see the world's most depressing overtake, or probably very good from his perspective. So we come out of there. He hasn't even got to the DRS line, and look at him go. It's absolutely obscene. So by the time he gets to the braking point at the turn 1 apex, he's basically a 3/4 of a second ahead of me. Absolute definition of tragic, unfortunately. But we're able to gain another place or two here, and we're coming out with hits. Looks like we're well clear of Dale, but actually, in the end, we get a bit of a bump from him. Now, I thought originally I'd turned in on him, but he reckons he probably just accelerated a little bit. Either way, I thought, do you know what? It's a Ferrari, and I might have just caused him some problems. So I'm gonna let him go. Probably didn't actually need to, but you know, sometimes you've got to pick your battles. The Ferrari was not going to be my battle. The cars behind were going to be my battle. And at the start of lap 21, we were now in the points because of people pitting. So now we actually had something to battle for. The only problem was we had Blarg behind us. And okay, he was in an Alfa Romeo, but he also had soft tyres. And we wanted to actually battle with this one. We weren't going to let him through. So rich fuel, overtake, down the straight as long as possible. And fortunately, Mercedes power, even if it is in a Williams, still trumps 2020 Ferrari power. And we were able to hold that place. And down the straights it was okay. Down the corners, I think Blarg was finding following me a little bit difficult, as in this corner at the start of sector 3 he went very deep trying to avoid going into the back of me. I mean, obviously Williams used hard tyres, not the best handling car in the world. Fast forward to the end of lap 24 and we've got another car behind us who we don't want to let through, and that's our teammate Tony in the Williams. Now he's only on medium tyres, still better than us, and he doesn't have that power deficit, so he's able to get through and basically take the place nice and fairly. Gets it turned in so we can't try a switch back, and then he scoots down the second DRS zone. We've got DRS but nowhere near enough speed to do anything with it, and we just need to focus on holding 9th at this point. We were able to gain another place because Maverick in his Red Bull unfortunately had gone a little bit too far on his tyres and picked up a puncture. So you can see him there, we overtake him with ease, just breeze past him. That gets him back for Abu Dhabi kind of. And now we've got Semi behind us, so you know, if we were thinking yay 8th place is good, then yeah, it's not any good now. And as soon as he gets through, perfect timing for him, the safety car comes out. So we're now looking at the very end of the race being very short and very compact amongst the field, because everyone's going to get bunched up again. So end of lap 27, we've got 2 full laps after this. Again, not the best restart. I felt like I got a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit limited at one point, and it meant that Maxi was able to overtake me easily in his Renault. Now unfortunately he was going so fast that he ended up going a bit deep into turn 1, clips the back of Tony and gets some front wing damage. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, well maybe that means we'll be able to gain that place again if he's got damage. Now of course he's also, as you can see in the top left hand corner, got 6 seconds worth of penalties, and some of the cars in front of him have got penalties as well. So Semi manages to get ahead of Maxi, and at this point I'm thinking, look how he's struggling. He's really struggling through these corners, but I don't want to get damage as well. I don't want to run into the back of him. I would much rather finish 10th on track and then not get damage than try an ambitious move and crash into the back of someone and completely ruin my race. I mean, at the best of times, that's not a good idea. When you've only got 2 laps, I mean, you know, if I had to pit at the end of this lap, I would guarantee you'd be lost. And the problem I had was that maybe Maxi was struggling in the corners, but that Renault, it does not struggle down the straight. So you can see we gain in that section there, but he's just going to be gone down the straight. We've got rich fuel on, we've got a tow, and we're going to have to use ERS because Owl is closing on us from behind and already thinking maybe he can get up the inside into the final corner. And one thing I think also is worth noting as well, top left hand corner, you can see that the cars in front and the cars behind are all on soft tyres. I am on very old hard tyres. I do not have a lot of grip here. So here it's just knuckle down and try and stay on the back of Maxi and take advantage of any mistakes he might make. Now the only downside to this, of course, is we're losing touch really badly with the cars in front, and if they do have 3-second penalties, well, it doesn't matter, because you can see Semi, who is in 8th place, doesn't have a penalty, and he's 3 seconds ahead, and we're losing time to them. So I'm not getting any of those cars ahead. At the moment, I'm going to get 9th, because Maxi is going to drop back with his now 9 seconds worth of penalties, and you know he's struggling on with a broken front wing. So the game is a little bit harsh in that once you get a bit of damage and you start struggling with it, the track limits stay exactly the same. So you're finding it harder to drive the car. It can get really annoying. I've been there, done it. But we get a good run through here, and we've got 1 sector left to go. We don't need to overtake Maxi, so even where we get a really good run, at this point it's like, could lunge for it, but there's just no point. I just need to make sure that Owl doesn't get past me from behind. So we're going to stay nice and solid behind Maxi, use him to get a bit of a toe to just make sure we don't get a run over start-finish line, turn everything up, and we cross the line, and we are duly promoted up into 9th place. And you can see now that DP and Tony had their 3 seconds of penalties applied. Had we been able to keep a little bit better with them, then we maybe would have been able to jump them. But I suppose one of the good things is I didn't get a penalty, and I don't really think I really made any mistakes in that race, which is really good. It's not always great when you're fighting, I mean, what was that, 14th to 9th in the end, and the only on-track overtakes that I made, well, I didn't make any at the start. I overtook Maverick when he got a puncture, and everyone else was overtaken in the pits. I mean, technically I overtook Hags after the first safety car restart. Don't think that really counts though, because he was only about half a front wing ahead. So not the ideal race, not the most exciting race, but I feel like we maximised what I could actually do in that car. I'm not good at this track, the car's not good, points are decent, I'll take it. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Do let me know what you're thinking of the videos in terms of the league races. Really like to know what you're liking and what you're not liking in them. And if you haven't already done the good old liking and subscribing, then you know what to do now. And there's details in the description below as well if you want to get me on Twitter, Instagram, or join our Discord. They're all a great place to just keep in touch with what's going on with the league races and my streams in general. Which brings me nicely on to mentioning my Twitch channel, where you can see these league races and other things live. League races are every Sunday and Wednesday at the moment, so why not pop down if you want to see one of these in action as it happens. But until then, and until the next race and the next video, goodbye.